Hello everyone, so my name's Daniel. I've been living here in Stockholm for many years now, and I currently make an app called Cascable, which works with system cameras such as this one and many more. And I do this as a indie developer, if you like. So it's just me, and occasionally I'll hire the help of a designer or somebody, but I'm trying to make a living making an app on the iOS App Store. Tough work. So I'm here to talk about we'll get to the feature that I'm going to demo at the end, but just the journey and how I got here and the context behind all this. So my app works with a big pile of cameras from various different camera companies. The problem is those cameras have their own apps that come from the camera companies. So I'm competing with free and included. On top of this, the app is quite a niche app, if you will. So, rather than casting the wide net of a weather app or a note-taking app or whatever, I'm limiting myself to the people who have an iOS device and one of these cameras and care about photography enough to know their camera has Wi-Fi and apps, which makes it even smaller, and are willing to pay for a better experience, which is even smaller. So it's drinking way down. Sorry, can I just... Let's see if this breaks it. No, sweet. It's all right, so I'm competing with free and a very small section of the market. A benefit of this is I can charge more money. So a few years ago, I started by making the app an upfront payment of $25. That was our version 1. And nope. So nobody's going to buy a $25 app upfront. Like zero sale days were super common. I've made some money, but whatever. So can't do that anymore. For 2, I went freemium. So users could download the app. They could buy like a set of features for $9.99, and there were 3 of them, or they could have a bundle for all of them together at a discount. Now this did work pretty well. The problem with this, it worked well because people could download it for free and try it out first. So that just got way more people actually using the app. $24.99 is an expensive price, and it has a phenomenon known as sticker shock. And if you're not, if you've ever like picked something up and gone, whoa, how much? That is sticker shock. And at $24.99 for an iOS app, that goes into that territory. So these feature packs let us start at a lower price, which kind of reduced that, and there was an upsell to the full bundle, which worked pretty well. And it worked completely fine. The problem is, it doesn't scale. So we had 3 feature packs, and then for version 3, I wanted to add another feature, which was geotagging, and I've planned out up to version 5 or so. Then there's another one coming, which is one I'm going to demo later, and there's another one coming later in this year, which would make it up to 6 feature packs. And then it just kind of starts to get a bit crazy, because if you buy them at $10 each, that's $60, which is no. But then you can't make them cheaper, because then people that pay $10 for the pack, it just gets super crazy. So it just doesn't scale. So with version 3, which we released in August, we moved to subscriptions. And we have a monthly or a quarterly subscription. The cheapest it is $3 a month, or you can buy a $29.99 one-time purchase, because there's more features now that you get for the money. And so far, this kind of works. Like, it's only been a few months, we don't know. But some early lessons we have here is that subscription fatigue is a real thing, especially if you aren't like a really obvious service, like Spotify here, Netflix, Apple Music, all of that. So if you have an app, but you've got an on-running cost that users don't see as a thing they should care about, you're going to have a real hard time doing subscriptions. So like running your push notification server and things like that. going to be really, really tough to get away with a subscription only, which is why we tried out this $29 thing. So even with the one-time purchase, we're getting 1-star reviews, because like people are like, oh, but if you use the free trial, you know, they'll bill you. It's like they're scamming us. There was actually one review that I couldn't find that had the word scam in it about 20 times. You know, that is by design, and I'm against that model, so I'm, you know, blah, blah, blah. Not something I can change, unfortunately, because that's how the App Store works. This guy, for some reason, he tried to buy the one-time thing, and it didn't work for him, so he was like, you know, beware the subscription auto-renews, blah, blah, blah. That's kind of confusing, because it's all the same code paths, but whatever. So I think if I'd gone subscription only with this, that would have been a very, very bad time for an app that doesn't, you know, stream something or, you know, have access, you know, via a website or whatever. Like, yeah. However, the subscription model on the App Store does have a super benefit, which is a nice way to give a low-cost entry to people who don't know if they want to spend the $30, but do want to try it out. They can have a trial, a free trial, and they can just try it for a month for, you know, $3. And this is actually something I advertise on the app's website. Like, you know, if you want a free trial but don't want a subscription, sign up for the subscription, immediately cancel. I'm sorry, it's a pain. And then once the subscription, the trial lapses, you can just buy it, and off you go. And this has worked out pretty well, apart from the 1-star reviews. So from our free trials, about 50 to 60% of people actually stay and start paying money. And then once they're paid, they stay roughly 60 to 70% of the time, month over month. So it is working okay. And this is what our subscription graph looks like. So this graph is just the number of active paying subscribers we have over time. And it's just slowly going up. And every month we're slowly getting a bit more. So, you know, in the world of, you know, venture capitals and hockey stick growth and stuff like that, this isn't super exciting. But if you are wanting to build a sustainable business and can invest the time to do that, then, you know, it's okay. And our numbers kind of bear this out. So 70% of all people that spend money in Cascable buy the $30 one-time unlock. And then the 23% are the more value for money quarterly subscription. And then the 6% are the monthly. And this is paying, so this doesn't include trials or anything like that. So another thing I had with this release is, you know, as a single developer shipping a product, I'm, you know, getting press is super, super valuable. And what I would do is I'd do a big release every year or so. So there'd be a big release and then a couple of feature updates, and then there'd be a 6-month silence while I worked on the next big release. And this is nice for having like a splash in the press, but the problem with that is it just kind of kills you. Like I would, you know, in the weeks coming up to this, I would like, go, oh no, it's fine, I'm not stressed, but you know, I have a chip in my tooth from grinding my teeth in my sleep and things. So with this, I decided that being live was better than getting press, so I switched to a continuous release. So I'll write a feature, ship it, write a feature, ship it. So there are smaller, more frequent updates. Problem is, for press, how do you, if you're just doing small updates every month, you can run the risk of it not being important enough for a you know, photography, in our case, publication to pick up, because, you know, all these things piled into one, that's a story, but, you know, this, then this, then this, you know, that's not so exciting. So what I tried recently was a Halo feature, which is Cascable recipes, which I'll show soon. And if you're not aware of the term, a Halo product is something that a company or whoever makes and sells with the knowledge that it's not going to sell many or even turn a profit. And it's most of the reason for its existence is to get like brand awareness. So this is super common in the auto industry. So this is an Audi R8 LMS. It has a V12 engine, it has 600 horsepower, and people go, that is kick-ass, that is so awesome, I'm gonna buy a boring Audi hatchback. So, you know, like almost all of the manufacturers do this. Like the biggest example of a Halo product is the Bugatti Veyron. So Bugatti is part of Volkswagen Group. So this is ostensibly a Volkswagen car, and they don't publish the numbers, but it's estimated that Volkswagen lose $6 million every time they sell one of these, because this costs 1 point something million dollars, but it costs them $7 or $8 million to make it. And they're willing to do that because it gets people into the brand, you know, like having, this is known as a hypercar, like it's beyond a supercar. Like this thing has well over 1,000 horsepower. It uses its entire tank of gas in 7 minutes at full speed, which is 200 and something miles an hour. Like, it's crazy. But they do this because it gets people excited and interested in their brand. For Apple, you might consider the iMac Pro a Halo product, because a Halo product isn't bad, and it's normally the best the company can possibly do. And it's the one that the employees of the company want to work on, because it just gets money thrown at them, so just make the best thing you possibly can. So the iMac Pro is probably that at the minute for Apple. The Mac Pro, when it was new, and if we ever get the new one, that will be a Halo product again. You know, because most people don't buy an iMac Pro, they buy an iMac or a MacBook or whatever. So I thought perhaps I could write something like this to get people excited about my product, but perhaps people wouldn't use it so much. And I think I'm going to demo it, because networks and stuff. Maybe I'll do a non-network demo. So Cascable recipes is a way to automate and script your camera. So in some parts of photography, you need to take multiple shots, or the same shot over and over again. So for example, if you're taking a time-lapse of a sunset, you'll want to take hundreds of photos over several hours, maybe even thousands. If you want to take a picture of the night sky, the stars like streaking through the sky, you need to have the camera shutter open for many, many hours, but cameras can't do that, so you need to do 5 minutes, new photo for 5 minutes, and then stack them all together later. And when it's cold in the winter, like here, you don't want to stand outside and do that, so it'd be super nice if we could automate it. And rather than just building, an automation tool, I thought I'd just let users build exactly what they wanted. So let's see if I can figure this out. Here we go, yes. So what recipes is a way to script your camera. So we'll just give it a name. It's not super sharp here. So it's a visual scripting language, basically. So let's say I'm the photographer for this event, but I'm standing up here instead of taking pictures. What I could have done, if I paid attention, was to put my camera over there and just have my camera take pictures of the speaker every few seconds. And then, over half an hour, that's definitely going to have at least one in there. So I could just drag a repeat block in here, repeat that just forever. Then we can take a picture, and then we can wait a minute or two. Damn scroll views. There we go. Wait 3 minutes, take a new picture. So we can just loop that as long as we like. And then if you want to get super powerful, you can change some exposure settings of the camera. If you're into photography, this is probably more understandable, but you can have it change any exposure setting, and then you can use variables to vary some delays and things through that. So I could, have it wait for 3 minutes, but then I can multiply that by 2, so then it will wait 6 minutes, and then it will make 12 minutes under each time. And you can sort of build accelerating time lapses with this kind of thing, so the sunset appears to speed up and then slow down in the video that will result. So this doesn't look like too much, but it's actually a really powerful tool. And I thought this actually might be very interesting to some people in the photography world. So I worked on it, I shipped it. But I do something I don't normally do as an indie developer, is I spent quite a long time preparing for the release. Not that I don't prepare for my releases, but so I spent quite a long time. So Cascable's main features for photographers is it's what comes with your camera, but it's way better, which isn't that exciting. Like, if you're into that, if you're a proper, like, 1%, if you like, and really care about the quality of apps, that's super nice. But if you look at most people's phones, you'll see about the advert-ridden crap they put up with. So that, using an Android-looking app on your iPhone that kind of crashes half the time, a lot of people will put up with that. So, it's, what you have but better is quite a hard sell. But this is like, oh, holy shit, that's cool. Like, to the right people, that is really good. And it's kind of a halo product. I don't expect many people to use it, but I put a few months into working on this, and it probably won't on its own have enough people using it to technically justify the money and time put in. But if it drums up interest, even if people don't use it, then that's a good use of time, right? But for the users that do use it, it's really good. Like, I'm really proud of it. Like, it has a camera simulator built in, so you don't need to connect to your camera to see how it will work. Like, has a ton of features. And yeah, so I spent a bunch of extra time on the launch. I spent a week making a tutorial video with like some super over-the-top transitions and things. It was really great. I made a dedicated web page for the feature that had really nice screenshots and like descriptions of it. Normally, I don't like having a ton of pages describing the app because people will look at one page and decide if they like it. But I think this warranted like a whole web page. And I spent the time to write a press release just for this feature. And then I sent it off. I didn't use any press release services, but I sent it off to some people on photography that work for photography websites that I've sort of made friends with over the past few years, and to some other websites, just like the editor at blah.com, or like found the contact form on the website and just, have a look at this. And it worked. It took a while. So on the left is my normal kind of like everyday downloady thing. And on the day of release, it was covered on a website called Petapixel, which is a fairly big website, and it was the first time they'd ever covered the app. I was super happy about it. It like doubled my downloads. And then a week later, a website called DP Review, like Digital Photography Review, covered it. And just it went through the roof. Like, that spike was the record sale day for my company in its history. And the funny thing is, the articles they wrote, they were somewhere between pasting in my press release verbatim and putting their own words around parts of my press release. And it was super. DP Review in particular, they it reads like they wrote it, but in that there's my words in there. So they did a super good job. I think it only took them, maybe an hour, half an hour to an hour to write. But because I spent the effort to make a nice press release and make this page, like their article is like, it's well written, it's got some nice screenshots, and it's really complimentary, and it's quite long as well. Like, it goes into the feature in depth. So this worked out really well. With this spike is obviously coming back down to normal levels now. But taking that effort to write a feature that not many people would use, but looked very flashy, making a press release and making a video, worked really nicely. So that should have come in line by line, never mind. So some conclusions about this entire thing, like what I've learned over doing subscriptions and these releases, is that the App Store became super flexible about payment models without many people noticing. Like, I've seen the Omni Group release iPad apps with free trials and no subscriptions. So you can now do free trials and then one-off purchases on the App Store, which wasn't the case that long ago. You can do free trials with subscriptions. You can do paid upgrades if you kind of plan ahead. I really think subscription only is very dangerous for apps, especially small apps like mine, unless you really obviously are a service. Like, I think, if you have a note-taking app, it's going to be hard to convince users that a continuous renewing subscription is worth it for, something like that. It's possible to get press without doing big splash releases. You could argue that this recipes thing was a big splash release. But it was super flashy. there's no other iOS app that does this on the App Store for cameras. It kind of goes in with the new iOS, especially on iPad, focus on productivity with drag and drop and all that. It's kind of, bang on trend right now. And this is super hard work for one person. So I have to be a programmer, an art department, a PR department, like all this. I just want to program stuff. So spending 3 weeks on stuff for release that isn't programming is really hard. So yeah, that was Cascable recipes. That was me and some of the lessons I've learned in sort of shipping an indie app. If you want any questions, particularly for that 2.0 release with all the in-app purchases and feature packs, I have a blog post with tons of graph on how that worked and how the sales went and things. So if that's something that interests you, come and find me, we can chat about it. All right, thank you. Okay.